Morning, people. Don't know what it is this week. I'm just getting interrupted every time I'm about to go live. This morning, the postman, yesterday, it was a very welcome and unexpected visitor. Someone who'd taken advantage of the bank holiday to come and visit Sarah and I. So that's why yesterday's broadcast was cancelled. But as I say, it was a very welcome visitor who was coming to visit us and to show off a new member of their family, which was very nice. So, morning, folks. Nice to be back. New week started. So let's go on with reviewing what news was around yesterday. Okay. So it's Indy Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is a beautiful morning and it is 14 degrees. Good morning, everyone in the audience on Facebook and on YouTube. So we got Brian, Stevens, Stefan, Margaret, Andy, Lenny, James, Struthers, Eddie, Thomas, Ali, Susan, Kerry, and Arc Office. Right, anyway, good morning. And to all using Facebook, too many to run through the names there. Okay. Right, so let's get this news review underway. It's a news review for yesterday, the 19th of September 2022. For some mad reason, I wrote 2020. Right, anyway, Monday started as every day since a week past last Friday has started with a nation in mourning. It's time for the emblem of power, privilege, and patronage to be interned in a vault at Windsor, where Prince Regent. All right. Now, in the rags, it's all farewell to our glorious head of church and state, being in England. The brainwashing that keeps the serfs in England in line is in full, glorious multicolour and for all to see. Right, so what did the glorious leader achieve in 70 years? Well, in 70 years, her firm has amassed 1.4 billion in cash reserves. And that's just for the land and the sea that they own. Now, the land and the sea that they own is reckoned also to be worth 18 to 48 billion. The stolen gems and the crown jewels are probably worth north of $1 billion. But let's never mind the mass wealth that they have accumulated over the years, that the 70 years that the firm has been in operation with her as Dawn. Let's have a look at what she really be remembered for. What is the legacy of the Elizabethan years? Right, in 70 years in power, we have seen the destruction of the welfare state. The welfare state was started and created in her father's reign after the Second World War. We have seen the public-owned utilities sold off, the NHS run down, the introduction of food banks, a persistent poverty since forever, but getting worse over the last decade of her reign. Now, 1 in 4 of her subjects live in poverty. She's also overseen a government of a genocide over the last 12 years. Now, I hear you say that that's been various governments doing that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. Let me remind the serfs doing that road that it's the Crown's sovereignty in Parliament that these governments are wielding. So her glorious reign, heralded in the papers, has been an unmitigated disaster for the people. History will look back on the Elizabethan Elizabeth I of Scotland and II of England's reign as a disaster for her people. She presided over the dismantling of the public services and the impoverishment of the people. And as to the impoverishment of the people, but guess who's paying for all the pomp and ceremony? That's right, the impoverished people. As to her successor, doesn't he half rip the pish, does it no? If you're a Church of England member, to wake up and find an adulterer and a liar on the throne and at the head of your church must be bloody fascinating. Anointed by God to rule over you is a liar and an adulterer. Wow. God save their king and head of their church. Mental. Right, moving on. There's no much to move on here, I can assure you. But Monday, the pound takes up on Monday where it left off on Friday, still in the poo. And things are probably about to get worse, to be honest with you. Currency traders are hedging against the UK currency, and the smart money is cutting and running. It's predicted that after the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee meeting on Thursday, there will be a run on the pound. They're predicting Black Thursday. Right, moving on. Monday, we are also being told that it's back to the 70s. Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng to throw fiscal policy out the window and spend. Problem is, they're spending on those who don't need it. So it won't bloody help Kwasi Kwarteng being told, you can spend whatever you like. The economy's not going to get moving. If you don't have anybody to sell things to, then there isn't any growth in your economy. Simple as that. So, but as I say, they're spending on the wrong areas. For example, spend means 130 to 150 billion to the big energy cartels. As I say, as we spoke about on Sunday, that's a piss or a laugher. Those in Europe will scratch their heads saying, what we're going to do to sort out the energy crisis. They look at the UK and say, these silly buggers are giving money to multi-billionaire companies. Let's tax the multi-billionaire companies and we'll subsidise our energy. Mental. Right, moving on Monday. And while the serfs are looking at the gilded box with a flag and a hat on it, it's reported that in 2022 so far, record amounts of raw sewage is being pumped into what they're calling British water courses and seas. What they really mean is they're being pumped into English water courses and the sea. All right, because it's not happening here in Scotland. It's not happening in Northern Ireland. Don't know what the script is in Wales. Anyway, there were 372,533 incidents in England so far in 2022. Now, the discharge into the seas is now that bad it's starting to affect beaches and bathing water qualities in France. It's also being reported that people are getting ill from paddling in coastal areas around England. Wow, mental. So you're going for a wee nip down the beach, not even a swim, a paddle, and you're picking up something. There's that much shite getting pumped into the water courses down that road. Absolutely mental. And yet the serfs are all looking the other way. Okay, moving on Monday. UK and Irish government officials meet to debate the reopening of the negotiations of the NI protocols. The outcome of the meeting has not been made public. All right, what we do know is the meeting was to discuss renegotiation. On being asked for comment, Irish delegates say Truss team seems eager to get round the table, which is quite funny because apparently Truss said that she'd scrap the protocols within 10 days of coming to power. I suppose we can get a wee bit of leeway before she starts her trade war, because the Duchess has been interred. I suppose the following war at Westminster will start again tomorrow. They'll have the day after to recover for the pomp and ceremony yesterday. Right, moving on Monday. In an attempt to be more patriotic and probably he probably intends an attempt to be more patriotic. The Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer says that he's going to play the national anthem at the opening of the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. Wow, that's going to be doing well with the locals, is it not? Oof. I hear the dockers down there have just went on strike. We know what Starmer's like. More patriotic. He couldn't be more patriotic. The clues in the name, Sir Keir Starmer. He's totally bought and owned by the establishment. He has the establishment's placed Tory at the top of the Labour Party. I mean, July 2022, in a statement to the press, he says his party is no longer the party of the poor. Wow. Because that's the majority of the people, the poor. So, it's no longer the party of the people. And now, in a flag shagging extravaganza, he's going to play the national anthem at a Labour Party conference. I can see that going to do like a ton of bricks. Oof. Anyway, his performance so far just shows you what a twat he is and how far to the right he is. He's actually a Tory placeman. He's a second Tony Blair, but even a bit further to the right. You know, Thatcher said Blair was her greatest creation. Starmer, well, he's worse, to say the least, all right. So anyway, let's look at his performance. No longer party of the poor. Will no renegotiate Brexit and get us back into customs union and single market. Anti-democratic stance in the case of Scotland. What else? And his performance and the trade disputes has been atrocious. Absolutely. Banning frontline front benchers to get going on the picket line and supporting the people. Wow. Even if Starmer could win the next election, folks, just another Tory. Nothing would change. The state doesn't want change, and Starmer is owned by the state. Right, moving on. Monday. And to prove Scots love the Duchess of Balmoral as much as the English serfs, the propaganda machine sends out reporters to observe the grieving of the masses here in Scotland. STV went to Holyrood Park, where a huge screen had been placed to screen the event at the cost of the council taxpayers out there, by the way. On arriving in the park, the reporter found about 200 people in the park, spread out, generally facing the screen, but not always. Anyway, the reporter then sets about interviewing them and discovers that half of them are actually tourists. So only about 100 Scots out of a population of 540,000 round about Edinburgh bother their arse to go to Holyrood Park. The BBC sends a stooge to Balmoral, where there's 20 to 30 people outside, and when they interview them, one's travelled up for the border area of Scotland, another one's travelled for England, and the third one was local. So, nae mass turned out of locals grieving at Balmoral. You know, and they didn't even bother in Glasgow. In Glasgow, we're that indifferent. In the west of Scotland, actually, in the central belt, we're that indifferent to the crowd. They didn't even bother us. But social media was good yesterday. I didn't watch any of the crap on the telly. But social media was good. What we did see was pictures of pubs all around Glasgow with TVs on, with everybody with their back to them. That shows you the indifference. Glasgow City Council knows how indifferent the people are in the west of Scotland to it. They didn't even bother with putting up any anything at all. The only thing that went on in Glasgow was two view cinemas opened their doors for anybody who wanted to watch it. And the cinema, the one in St Enoch's, had 12 people attend. They didn't gauge the numbers for the one at Parkhead Forge. Probably no people at all. So, what's interesting about that is, it's not just royal births and marriages we tend to ignore up here. We can now add funerals to the list as well, because we ignored Philip's interment and we've ignored Lizzie's interment. Just shows you, pure propaganda pumped into your hooses. Because we're all indifferent to it. Right, moving on. Monday, and Trust pledges billions to support Ukraine in 2023. Let's hope it's to rebuild and that the bloody conflict is over. Also Monday, it's reported that Truss is to go further with free ports. She'll call them low tax zones, and she intends to deregulate planning in these zones as well as have them as low tax zones. Now, we know that free ports don't work. They've done them before, they failed. Last one, shut as recently as 2012, a decade ago. And the Tories were already in power when that one shut. So apparently planning regulations and things like that are all out the window in these zones in order to create what she's going to call low tax economic areas rather than free ports. Also Monday, Mad Vlad Putin, as the Western media would have us all believe, says EU energy crisis is not Russia's fault. There's a problem with the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. But Vlad says all Europe needs to do is press the button to open the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Nord Stream 2 was completed just before the conflict in Ukraine. The EU shelved opening it because of the conflict. Anywho, Vlad says the pipe is pressurised and ready to supply the EU market. But it would appear that Vlad doesn't get the idea of sanctions, does he? But I suppose he has got a point. If there is a problem with the Nord Stream 1 pipeline and they can't get gas through to Europe that way, then surely if there's a backup pipe, the common sense thing today would be to extract from the backup pipe the same amount of gas that they were already extracting from the Nord Stream 1 pipe. So maybe Vlad's got a point, but he obviously doesn't get the idea of sanctions. Anyway, moving on. Now, let's move on to the madness of the state funeral. Now, the state funeral is over. Not that I paid any attention to it in the first place. But the next bit of pomp and ceremony to come along that's going to cost us a bloody fortune will be Charlie's coronation. Now, when will Charlie be anointed head of state and church in England? The liar and adulterer. And it looks like he's also got a bastard son in Australia. But that's beside the point. When will it be? Guess when? It's either going to be in spring 2023 or summer 2023, right when we are in the middle of an independence campaign. How convenient is that? I mean, I heard some nut jobs grumping that the state funeral was the day after we lost the last referendum. Don't think I even come into their heads. Let's face it, you can only keep a body for so long. And there's a reason why that coffin that she's in is lead lined, because it's going to be sitting on a plinth next to her late husband's, and there'll be two big boxes full of primordial soup as the body's break down. Right, anyway, let's move on. Where were we? Aye, pomp and ceremony when their coronation's going to be. Right, and also Monday. In fact, it'll be going for longer than that, but it's highlighted on Monday. Minority Conservative Council in Stirlingshire lights up the Wallace Tower and the colours of the Union Jack. Wow, mental. Talk about a slight on the Scottish people and a slight on their history. Here's a man that fought for Scottish independence being wrapped in a butcher's apron by the disgusting shites at Stirling Council. Wow. Talk about a kick in the cojones. Right, that's what I've got for you. There wasn't a lot out there, folks. I could have went on Biden. I could have went on Biden, body swerving Truss. I'm telling her, no, I don't want to meet you. There was a few other wee snippets out there, but that's it. That's what I've got for you today. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it informative. No Sir Auntie, and I'm trying to cut out the swear words. Apparently YouTube don't like me swearing. Not I care very much what YouTube bikes, but hey. Anyway, let's move on to this morning and what the papers have to say. Really. And I might get a little angry here, okay? Now, Scotland's papers, the Queen laid to rest and outpouring of love. Outpouring of love, really, we've just spoke about it. 20 or 30 people at Balmoral, 150 to 200 people in the park in Edinburgh. No events in Glasgow or any other major Scottish cities because we really don't care. They're irrelevant. We're indifferent to them. We'll leave that to research down the road. Anyway, listen to this one. I don't normally do the Sun, but I'm going to do the Sun because this one really, really got me this morning. The Sun, we sent her victorious. We sent her victorious. Public services knackered, currency failing, rampant inflation, hiked interest rates. 1 in 4 people, children in England in poverty. 1 in 4 people in England in poverty. She reigned over chaos. The Elizabethan era will be remembered for poverty and bloody genocide. The Metro has the Queen's State funeral. The Looney Rag, the Daily Express has God rest our Queen. Might have been your Queen, but it certainly wasn't our Queen. We're bloody well indifferent to them. Births, marriages, deaths, we couldn't give a shite. Anyway, the other Looney Rag, the Daily Fail, has her final journey. Very good. The Herald has, we will meet again. No, we won't. She's in a lead-lined box. Yeah, a couple of years, there'll be nothing in there but decayed Primordial soup. We're not meeting again anywhere. The Daily Telegraph, an outpouring of love. Aye, we love her. Ah, brilliant. Been great to live under her. Food banks everywhere. Granny riding the bus to stay warm. 1 in 5 children in Scotland in poverty, 1 in 4 in England. It's been a wonderful time. The Scotsman's farewell. The Record, rest in peace, burn in hell. The Times, carried to her rest. And the eye has the end of the Elizabethan age. Thank Christ. The pain, the suffering, the poverty. I'm 55. I don't remember these sunny uplands ever. We're back where we were in the 80s. I joined the military to escape the poverty, and then here we are, 2022, and the poverty is worse today. The Edinburgh Evening News, our nation says farewell. We didn't. We bloody well ignored that. As has been reported in the press here in Scotland, the real press. Indifferent is what we want here. Totally indifferent. And to watch our politicians along in Hollywood play this pompous pish, it's hilarious. The only one along there that's got any sense is Patrick Harvey. He doesn't give a damn and says it. The Glasgow Times, end of an era, end of an epoch of bloody poverty. Well, they are privileged. The National has the last farewell. The Press and Journal has the last goodbye, full coverage. Oh, not put by a special edition today. And the Star of Scotland has Her Majesty laid to rest next to the Duke of Edinburgh, side by side, together forever. Although they're on separate boxes and they're breakdown separately. There you go. The Courier has ER2, can't even get that bloody right, as Elizabeth Regina in Scotland. And the Evening Express, I can't believe she's gone now. Man, that wasn't about Elizabeth this time, it was Dice murder probe for her. So that's the rags a day. The rags a day. Apparently, we are in mourning still. Now, the period of official mourning is over. And it'll be back to noisy politics as usual. MSPs start work again the day, and they'll start with a tribute to the Queen, and then they'll start to swear allegiance to Charles, which they shouldn't be doing. They should be swearing allegiance to the people. Simple as that. And apparently, as I say, apparently we're all sycophantic is what they are doing that road. But as I say, there's this report and the reports throughout Scotland yesterday, especially on social media, makes it quite clear we were totally indifferent to everything that was going on. And the few years that we're watching the news, we were more interested in the billions being pledged for war, while people go hungry here at home. We were more worried. We were more staring on agog at Trussonomics, which is absolute lunacy, taking more out of the public's pockets just when you need the public to have disposable income. So it's going to be a very testing week for those of us on these islands. Economic turmoil continues. Weather's turning for the worst. Energy prices are through the roof. Poverty is already unbelievable. But that brings us to the end of this report. So talking about poverty, Indie 2 Cafe charity night is this Saturday at the General Motors Club in Holytown. And if you can come along, there's still some tickets to be had. All funds raised will go to charity. And you can get tickets via PayPal at acare53@gmail.com. All right. And you can pay at the door, but you need to let people know in advance that you're coming so that the food can be arranged for you. Okie dokie. So that's the charity out the road. Let's move on to the usual stuff. Now, there is a campaign underway. Keep your eyes on the prize. Get this piss out your head now and get back to business. All right. Learn your how you gonies. Get out there and win hearts and minds. Okay. Now, support the independent media. Support Broadcasting Scotland. Support Independence Live. Support Indie Live Radio. Support Caledon Media. Support Through Radio, the iScot magazine, and the national newspaper. Support independent bloggers and bloggers. If they have a crowdfunder on the go, then please, if you can, throw a few shekels in the pot. These people do great work. As you know, I'm not interested in your money. But if you like what I do, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, hit the bell notification button, and you'll get notified every time me or the two Davies go live. And if you're on Facebook, please share this around. Okie dokie. So, what's it like? So thanks for joining me again this morning, folks. This is my first one this week. As I say, I hope you enjoy it. Now, we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully there'll be some more real news for you to report on tomorrow. Okay. Use people look after yourself, and we'll see you for tomorrow's transmission. Have a nice day.